Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to go over how exactly to structure your calorie deficit. Um, a lot of people ask me, I don't know what to eat, I don't know how much to eat, what should my macros be? This video is going to answer exactly all those questions step by step for free. Like literally, I'm just giving you all the free sauce. It's the same system that I use on myself when I diet. It's the same system I use for my clients when they go on a diet. So without further ado, we are going to jump right into this thing, right into it. Okay, so we're going step by step to make this as easy as possible. All right, so step one is pretty obvious, but we need to find your maintenance first. So we need to find how many calories your body typically burns in a day so that we can know how much we need to eat, how many calories we need to eat in order to lose weight. So the easiest way to do that is to go jump onto tdeecalculator.net, type in your credentials. I'm almost 24 now, about 200 pounds, 6'1", and I get about 20 to 30,000 steps a day. I'm just going to go with moderate exercise to be safe, although it's probably higher than the number it's going to give me. And I'm about 16% body fat right now. And you don't need to know your body fat, but yeah, that's cool. So this is telling me that my maintenance is around 3,100 calories per day. I am actually going to We'll just keep this number for the sake of the video, although I know my maintenance is a little higher than that because I've been tracking my weight and my calories like for months and months and months. That's the only true way to know your maintenance. But if you're just starting off, just take this number and you're going to be fine. So yes, 3,000, let's just say 3,100 calories per day is my maintenance. Oops, that is my meal YouTube. So we're going to go here, find your maintenance, and that's going to be 3,100 calories for me. Cool, easy. Once you have this number, everything from here on out is super simple. Then you just subtract 500 from that. So for me, that would be about 2,600 calories. This is your calorie target. Right, subtracting 500 from your maintenance means you will lose about 1 pound of body fat per week eating this number of calories. Easy. So now that we know we need to eat 2,600 calories, step two is finding out how many macros to eat, like how much protein, how many carbs, how much fat. Because yes, we could eat 2,600 calories of straight Twinkies and donuts and you'd still lose weight, but you would lose muscle and not feel good throughout the day. And that's why macros are important because we need enough protein to support muscle growth and to keep your muscle tissue on and grow more while you're losing weight. And so you can actually feel full throughout the day. We need enough fats so that you could keep your hormones functioning properly and your brain health and you keep your joints lubricated. You're much less likely to get injured in the gym if you eat enough fat. And then we fill in the rest with carbs because we want good training performance, we want good brain performance, and we want to enjoy our diet at the end of the day. Carbs are going to be actually the highest macronutrient. So, with protein, we're going to take about 1.6 to 2 grams per kilogram of your body weight. If you don't know what that is, then you just go to a calculator. All right, super easy. I'm about 200 pounds right now. And if you want to find out how many kilograms that would be, just take your body weight, divide it by 2.2, and boom, that's how many kilograms you are. Let's say 90, just so we have nice easy numbers. And now that we have 90, okay, 90.9, let's say, we take this 90.9 and multiply it by 1.6 or 2.0 depending on how much protein you want. Start on the lower end and you can raise it over time if you'd like. And boom, 145 grams of protein is the minimum amount of protein that I should be eating in order to keep and grow muscle while I'm losing fat. So for me, that's going to be about 145 grams of protein. Easy. And then for fats, we're going to take 20% of the total calories that we will be consuming and eat that amount in grams of fat. So I'm eating 2,600 calories. 20% of 2,600 is 2,600 times zero point 0.2, about 520 calories worth of fats. And in order to find the amount of grams of fat that we want to eat from the calories, we just take this 520 and divide it by 9 because each gram of fat is 9 calories. So we do 520 divided by 9. Boom. About 58 grams of fat is going to be perfect. 58 grams of fat, and then we fill in the rest with carbs. How do we find that number? This is how we find it. 58 grams of fat equals 520 calories. 145 grams of protein equals 145 times 4, because protein is 4 calories per gram. So 580 calories. 580 calories. Okay. And if we add these two up, it's going to be 1,000. It's going to be 1,100 calories. So if we do 2,600, which is the total amount of calories that we should be eating, we subtract 1,100 calories, which is our protein plus fats. We will get how many calories we want to be consuming from carbs. And then in order to find out how many grams of carbs that actually is, we divide this by 4, because each gram of carbs is also 4 calories. And we end up with 375 grams of carbs. Boom. 375 grams of carbs. There you go. Super easy and simple. In order to find how much protein you should eat about 1.6 to 2 grams per kilogram. Fats, 20% of your total calories, and carbs, we literally just fill in the rest. So these are the macros that I will be going with. Okay, step 3. How many meals should you be eating? Should you eat 1 meal a day? Should you eat 2, 3, 4? It's going to depend on the person. So if you normally don't eat breakfast, you don't need to eat breakfast just because everyone tells you to eat breakfast. Like if you are just someone who doesn't enjoy eating breakfast, maybe you're not hungry in the morning, I will say this. If skipping breakfast causes you to feel like you need to overeat later, I would recommend having a small breakfast. But if skipping breakfast is just totally normal for you and you don't feel the need to overeat later and compensate for that, then you don't need to eat breakfast. I personally usually don't eat a big breakfast. If anything, it's a very small amount of protein just so I can stimulate protein synthesis. All right, so the point is to structure your calorie deficit similar to how you already eat. So take a look at how you normally eat on a normal day and basically structure your calorie deficit in that way. Here's my personal example. I will have a very light breakfast, a heavier lunch. Usually I'll have like a little bit of carbs and a little bit of protein before my workout, and then after my workout I'll have a heavy meal. In between lunch and dinner I'll have some sort of a snack, and then I'll have a moderate to heavy dinner. Let's say moderate to heavy, just depends on the day. And then at night I always finish the night off with some sort of snack or a treat. So this is how I would personally structure my calorie deficit. For you, it might be a heavier breakfast and a lighter lunch. Or you might skip breakfast as a whole so that you could have a very heavy lunch and a very heavy dinner. That's totally fine. However, you feel like you are going to stick to it, however you feel like you're going to enjoy the diet the most is how you should structure it. Okay, so figure out what this meal, full day of eating might look like for you, how many meals you're going to eat, and then move on to step 4. Step 4, of course, is go grocery shopping. So if we take a look at like what kind of foods that we should buy at the grocery store, I pretty much laid it all out here. For proteins, we are going to go with egg whites, chicken thighs or breast, 90 to 96% lean beef, salmon, white fish, Greek yogurt, low-fat cottage cheese, and maybe protein powder if you find it hard to hit your protein intake. But I would always prefer eating whole foods first because those are going to have more unique micronutrients in them, as well as keep you fuller for a longer period of time. Because think about it, if I had a protein shake that was like 200 calories that I filled with this water bottle versus having a bowl of 200 grams of egg whites, let's say, those egg whites are going to keep me fuller for a much longer period of time. And the name of the game with dieting is trying to keep yourself from being hungry as much as you can. So whole foods are going to be your best friend. So these are the main protein sources that you are going to eat. If you're vegetarian, then you're going to have to go with a lot of egg whites, tofu, seitan, which I've never tried before, and things like that. I would recommend, or you could also go with Greek yogurt and cottage cheese, I think. And if you're vegan, I don't know, I can't really help you. I'm not really good at that. I don't really have any vegan clients. If I did, I would do more research, but for right now, these are the foods that get all of my clients the best results, as well as myself. Okay, and then for fats, if you choose a fattier cut of meat, like if you choose chicken thighs, if you choose salmon, if you choose 90% or even fattier beef, then you don't really need to buy a fat source because those meats are going to supply more than enough fat in your diet to regulate your hormone function and keep you functioning properly. But if you go with super lean proteins like egg whites, chicken breast, white fish, Greek non-fat Greek yogurt, then you can buy a fat source, right? In this case, you can go with eggs, avocado, nuts. I would always recommend omega-3 supplements, especially if you're not eating salmon or chicken thighs or olive oil, right? Again, I would only recommend having an actual fat source in your diet if the meats that you're eating are very, very lean already. Okay, so you have to pick and choose what you want there. And then for carbs, my favorite carb source is potatoes and oats because potatoes, oats, and beans I would say are my three favorite carb sources because they are full of fiber and they keep you fuller for longer. But rice is a good carb source as well. Quinoa is pretty decent. Rice cakes have no fiber, but it's a good carb source. And then of course fruits and vegetables. And then as a bonus, fiber. Beans, skin on potatoes, berries, vegetables, oats, and apples. As you can see, there's some crossover here because it's hard to find like a straight fiber source without carbs in it. So what I do is stack my carbs and fiber. So I'll buy beans, which have a good amount of carbs and a good amount of fibers. Skin on potatoes, good amount of carbs and a good amount of fiber. Just stacking those micronutrients throughout the day so that you can, again, stay full throughout your diet and actually enjoy your life while you're dieting. Okay, step five is to fill out your day of eating the night before. So the night before you start your diet, you go into your calorie logging app and you fill out exactly what you're going to eat the next day. So this is what an example diet of 2,200-ish calories can look like, right? Banana and protein powder before your workout, post-workout meal, oats, berries, eggs, and egg whites. Um, Big lunch slash late lunch could be, a lean meat with mixed vegetables, beans, and sweet potatoes. And then for dinner, you could have chicken thighs, potato, black beans, and mixed vegetables. And then a little treat at the end. This is my Ninja Creamy recipe. This is going to be about 2,200 calories, 170 grams of protein, which is a little bit over on the protein mark. But obviously, don't use these numbers. Use your own numbers that you just calculated. And then most importantly, we want to make sure that our micronutrients are in play. 89% is solid. This particular diet is very good in micronutrients, except it could use some vitamin E, which we can get some, I believe, spinach, red peppers, um, yeah, almonds, yeah, stuff like that. You just want to make sure that your micronutrients are as maxed out as possible. They don't have to be perfect. And if you're like, okay, I'm not going to buy a whole separate thing just to or I'm not going to like completely change up my meals just to get these in, then just take a supplement. It's not the end of the world. All right. So always plan your full day of eating the night before. It's going to make your life so much more easy. And then all you have to do is just fill in the empties. So in this particular diet, it's a little bit low in carbs, 50 grams of carbs short. So I would just add 50 grams of carbs. It's about 20 grams of fat short. I would just add 20 grams of fat and make sure that these are all in place so that you can give your body the best chance possible to feel good throughout this dieting process. Step six, you have to decide, if you want to cook every meal, if you want to batch cook your foods, or meal prep every single meal. So I would personally recommend the middle option, batch cooking your foods. But I'll go through each option. So if you want to cook every meal, that means you'll have to cook your own breakfast every day. You'll have to cook lunch every day. You'll have to cook dinner every day. You'll be spending all day cooking and cleaning, and that's just not ideal. So I would never ever recommend this option unless you're like a chef and you just like really, really enjoy cooking. That's fine. I personally recommend batch cooking your foods. So cook a bunch of chicken thighs at once and just leave them in a pot in your fridge for a few days for you to eat for a few days. Cook a bunch of 96% beef or whatever beef you're buying. Keep it in a pot and have it in the fridge. Same with potatoes and rice. Cook a bunch at once so that you can leave them in the fridge and use them as needed throughout the week. This is my favorite option because it's a good mix between cooking every meal and then only cooking once a week and meal prepping every meal, which is a solid option if you are really, really short on time throughout the week. So this would entail cooking all your foods, measuring everything out, and putting them all into containers. And then when you want to eat, you literally just pick up the container and throw it in the microwave, and that's very, very simple. I like the middle ground, batch cooking, and then creating your plate with the separate pots that you have of the separate like carb sources and the protein sources and everything that's already in the fridge. But if you wanted to meal prep every meal, I've done that in the past. It works really well if you are a very busy person. So does this. I mean, these both really work really well if you're a very busy person. I personally just kind of stopped meal prepping every meal because it got a little overwhelming. I didn't enjoy the process of putting everything into containers and this, that, and the other, especially because I work from home. But if you don't work from home, you might have to meal prep a few meals throughout the week. All right. And then step 7 is the most important step. You must follow the plan and realize that good results take time and consistency. That scale is not always going to give you the number that you want every week, even if you're doing everything right. Right? You could be in a perfect 500 calorie deficit for a week and expect to see the scale go down 1 pound, but it doesn't, because the scale doesn't just tell you how much body fat you're losing. It tells you water weight, sodium retention, carb retention, everything that you're holding on. It measures the food that's still sitting in your gut. Maybe you haven't pooped yet. All these different factors could be at play with the scale. So I'm not saying don't weigh yourself ever. I think the scale is a good tool to track your long term progress, but do not develop an emotional attachment with the number on that scale. Just use it as a data point, right? And a pro tip is repeating the same meals each day. It's not required, but it will make your life easier and you will reach your goal faster with less effort and less decisions. If you already know what you're going to eat for the next 7 days, then you have to make much less decisions on, oh, what am I going to cook today? What am I going to eat tomorrow? This and that. It gives you more time to actually do stuff in your life, right? And then after the diet, you can make more decisions if that's what you want. But if you want the results with the least amount of effort and the least amount of decisions that you have to make throughout the day, and probably more likely faster results, then I would recommend eating like very very similar meals throughout the week. Maybe just switch out the vegetables, switch out the meat you're using, but the overall structure should stay the exact same. Okay, that is the most important step. All right, if you're going to try to do this on your own. And then my final tip is that if all of this feels too overwhelming for you, reach out for help. I lost over 100 pounds a few years ago, about 5 or 6 years ago, and I had to learn how to do all of this on my own because I really enjoyed it. The reason I do this for a living is not because I want your money. It's because I actually I enjoy sitting down here and creating meal plans, creating diet plans based on your lifestyle, creating your workout routine. It is just something that I actually just enjoy doing. I like to see the numbers fitting together. I like to see you reaching your result. I like to see you texting me saying, "Oh my God, this diet is actually a lot simpler than I thought it would be." I like to see all these things. So that's what I would recommend if all of this just seems like too overwhelming for you, because you already know what to do, right? I just show you how to do it in the best way possible for your specific goals. And if you're interested in potentially hiring a coach, someone who's actually been in your shoes before, who's actually lost 100 pounds before, and knows the struggle, just DM me on Instagram or hit the link in my Instagram bio. It's at Coach Selly. That's Coach underscore SELLY. And you can apply for coaching, and I'll reach right out to you and we can have a call and see if you're a right fit for the team. If you're not, that's fine. If you are, then cool. We'll talk about it. But this is pretty much how I lost 100 pounds. This is how I structured my calorie deficit during not only my 100-pound weight loss, but all 3 of my bodybuilding preps. It's how I structure all of my clients. And I do it this way because I enjoy doing it this way and I know it gives results. All right? So I appreciate you for watching. I hope this was helpful. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.